everyone. I am Dr. Laurel Cook, Associate Professor of Marketing at West Virginia University. Welcome to another digital marketing lecture. Today we're going to discuss personal branding and NIL or name, image, licensing strategies. We'll discuss opportunities for NIL and how to manage your NIL sponsorships. Let's get started. I come to you with many years of brand-related experience. For example, I manage the professional industrial tool brands under the umbrella of our parent brand Black & Decker. I helped to manage the Porter Cable, Delta Machinery, and DeWalt power tool brands for many years in the industry. I also received my degree from the University of Arkansas, home of Walmart, and many of its vendors. As a result, I was able to network with many of the brands located in that area, both regionally, nationally, and internationally. I'd like to give you an example about why branding is so important. Let's consider grocery shopping here in Morgantown. We have one of two primary options when you're considering shopping at Kroger. We have the nice big Kroger, otherwise affectionately called Kroguchi, and the smaller, less new Kroger, often referred to locally as Krogetto. When you shop at these stores, think about what your favorite aisle is. Next, think about how your favorite products got in that aisle. Consider walking down the cereal aisle, for example. How did your favorite brands get here? Do you think these primary spaces are always sold for more money? Or do you think perhaps branding has entered the picture? You see, a brand here in this case isn't better or worse because the product is necessarily better or worse. It's how the brand is perceived. One counterintuitive perspective about a brand is that your brand represents who you are, not what you say it is, but what other people say it is. Your brand then represents your image and your message. Talk about your brand. Maybe it's your name. Maybe it's a product you've developed. Focus on what makes you or that particular product different. If I were to ask you to tell me about what you know about the people in your life, those you're closest to, I might ask you to use nouns, adjectives, words, or short phrases to describe these people. What you're in essence doing is painting a picture of their brand. I ask you to tell me more about yourself. I'd ask you the same thing. Describe yourself in nouns, adjectives, words, and short phrases. One way to independently assess what your brand may truly be is to use a free tool like the one shown on the screen here. Once you visit the website, scroll down and you can see how you can connect your Facebook, Twitter, or LinkedIn accounts and make a prediction about how the data would describe you. For example, when I connect my Twitter account, I can see that the site has assessed my age, my gender, and personality traits. Using a tool like this might help you understand if what you say your brand is how others might independently describe your brand as well. When you think about your brand, especially in the era of digital marketing, your brand online represents your digital real estate. Real estate as a collection of all of your assets. Fleet that's getting the greatest number of NIL deals then would have a really good and strong digital real estate portfolio. Such a collection of assets then might include the following tools: a website, public social media accounts, media kit, which might include your mission statement, your own logo, and a color palette, and finally, social proof. To prove the website, one tool I strongly recommend is to use Adobe Express. Adobe Express is a tool that's currently competing with Canva and offers a large number of project types. For free, you can go to the Adobe Express website and create any number of projects, including a website. The advantage of this particular tool is that it helps you create a responsive website, which means the website you develop will appear differently based on a user's device. Your website then will appear differently on a laptop than it would on a smartphone. Scroll down and add any number of elements that you would like to your website. The limit to this particular tool is that you end up with one single page as a website. Everything from development to publication of your website is entirely free, but you are limited to just a single page. Another free resource I would like to recommend is 1001fonts.com. It's the easiest way for you to develop your logo. You can use your initials, for example, to create a logo using a font that appeals most to you. An important branding lesson is what you see here. Overall, your brand's value is hugely related to your network. For this reason, I like to say that your network is your net worth. Your net worth can be articulated by a collection of different online resources, including those you own and those you don't. Net worth, then, is comprised of earned, shared, paid, and owned media. Media includes what others are saying about you. This might be content from the media or press, or even from your own university. Finally, owned media are those digital assets that you control and own yourself. These, of course, may include your website, social to, which is content sent from your social media accounts, and then social from, which are your replies, your interactions, engagement from your social media accounts. It's important to remember that a lot of your users may not only be seeing content that you deliver directly from your account, but also content that your account uses to interact with others. An important development related to brands and athletes was recently adopted by the NCAA back in June of 2021. Normally, the NCAA agreed for athletes to have an opportunity to benefit from their own brand. Think of NIL, or branding, similar to influencer marketing. This is where a person might benefit from the use of their name, their likeness, or their image. Our state introduced an NIL, or name, image, likeness law for all colleges and institutions. The bill you see here has not successfully made its way through the House and Senate yet, nor has it received governor approval. But if and when this bill is passed, it will allow all intercollegiate student athletes the ability to earn compensation for the use of their brand, or their NIL. What you see here is an important outcome from this bill. Perhaps most importantly, earning compensation as a result of NIL will not affect your scholarship eligibility. To provide you an example of NIL that's done extremely well, I'd like to offer the following example that you see on the screen here. The person you see here is Raquan Smith. He's a running back on the football team and a decathlete on the school's track team. He's specifically known around college sports as the king of NIL. He has so many NIL deals, currently 70 endorsement deals that he signed during the past year. There's no need to reinvent the wheel then, but look at Smith and his social media profiles. Look at the NIL posts that he makes. It will give you a very good reference on how to execute NIL deals yourself. The NIL post doesn't have to be overly complicated. In fact, it can look similar to the example you see here. I have an athlete here who has a paid partnership with Expressman Clothing. The FTC wants users online to know if a post on social media, for example, is sponsored or not. An athlete with an NIL deal, an influencer with a paid sponsorship, anyone who receives compensation from a brand, either with free product or monetary compensation then, has to disclose that partnership to his or her users. To get started in looking for NIL deals, I recommend the following resources, which is just a small collection of a wealth of resources online. The first is a tool called Open Doors. Here brands can sort through a number of athletes that they would like to partner with. See that this site does a really good job of showcasing a variety of athletics, of athlete types, and providing brands with the athlete's social accounts. The news is that vanity metrics like the number of likes that a person gets or the number of followers that a person has, matter less to brands these days. So don't worry if your account isn't hugely followed. Instead, brands will be looking for more important metrics. Specifically, brands will be looking for more important KPIs or key performance indicators, such as the number of conversions that your post might generate for the brand, or the number of sales that might come from your post. Alternatively, brands might be interested in an NIL sponsorship for people that can generate sales leads. Another tool is 13NIL, that may help you assess the kinds of deals that other athletes are generating. Another important tool may be the hub that you see here, otherwise known as the NIL network. Courses then, especially those online, were minimal for college athletes and their admin supporters. There was no website dedicated to NIL info. There was no widely accessible NIL guidance. And there were really no channels exclusively designed for sharing NIL insights and trends. Like the one you see here, the NIL network, was created back in 2020 to provide these resources, to generate awareness of NIL changes. Another tool is Spry. Spry will help you with your NIL compliance to make sure you're keeping up with regulations, such as those required by the FTC. The best things you can do to promote your own brand and to increase the likelihood of securing NIL sponsorships is to make sure that your business or professional profile is updated online, specifically LinkedIn. Choose simple things that you think will greatly increase your likelihood of your LinkedIn profile being viewed. The answer then is to have a recent photo and 5 or more featured skills. You can see how these skills translate into your brand's core competencies. In other words, what makes your brand different. In the process of securing NIL deals, I recommend having a unique email address for your brand. Lastly, I want to cover what happens if you happen to get bad press associated with your brand. It may be easy then, in situations with bad press, to hope the situation goes away. In all of my brand-related research, though, results would indicate that silence is not the answer. Hoping the situation will go away on its own, then, usually doesn't work. Instead, a better strategy is to actually share your story with others online so that other athletes then can learn from your experience. You see how this might frame your brand in many favorable ways. 1, you're providing a resource for other athletes. 2, you're generating goodwill. And 3, you're framing yourself in a very authentic and credible way. This is a very good strategy for making sure that your brand recovers whenever media is less than favorable regarding your brand.